everybody. Somebody brought up a good point on the Facebook group Watchtower Hidden in Plain Sight, and I had posted a picture of my father and my uncle, and they're abusers, both of them, in multiple different ways. And so there was a comment where they said, well, ask them what their view is on the two-witness rule, of whether or not there should be two witnesses to abuse before it's taken seriously or before it's reported to police. And I was thinking about this. Whoever would support that view, that it should, be a requirement that two witnesses have to witness something, the only one who would feel that way would be the perpetrator. Like, yeah, nobody should ever be accused unless there are several witnesses to the fact, But if you're a victim, do you think a victim feels that way? Like, yeah, well, two people didn't see what all happened, so I can see why you wouldn't believe me. Like seriously, imagine how that feels to the victim. It's like, what? You needed how many other people to see that before you're gonna what? Call police or believe me or take me seriously? Like, how in the world is that supposed to happen? He only does it when we're alone. He doesn't do it in public. And so you're stuck. But the ones who would want that would be the ones who don't want to get caught. Anyone who would support that, like, to say that to a witness's face, like, you support that? That is something that only, pedophiles and perpetrators, that's something that only perpetrators support. That is a perpetrator law, like a perpetrator rule. It's like, oh, sorry, you didn't catch me. There were no eyewitnesses, ha ha ha. Like, can you imagine? It's like, sorry, you didn't catch me. I know she said I did it, but nobody else saw me, so it's her word against mine, and that's it. Can you imagine how exhilarated a perpetrator would feel if that were the case? And it is the case in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they know it. Like, think about this. They talk about the two-witness rule in front of the entire congregation, which means they're saying it in front of perpetrators. It is not some unknown rule. The one who would be the most paying attention to that two-witness rule would be the perpetrators. Perpetrators are aware. Like, it's like having a perpetrator in the police department, where then they're in control of covering things up because they're the one in authority, where they can tamper with evidence and do all sorts of things, And that's what's happening. The organization is telling these perpetrators exactly how to get away with it. It's like, well, if you want to get away with child abuse, then make sure and do it always in private and make sure nobody witnesses it. Like, they're telling them how to get away with a crime. Because usually the way criminals get caught is they don't know the law. And it's like, oh, actually, no, we can, seize your DNA or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that was the law. Like, I wasn't aware. But with Jehovah's Witnesses now, they're completely aware of the rules and what they're going to, take seriously and not take seriously. So they are going to make sure there are never any witnesses at all. Like, I know with various ones that I've come in contact with who are predators. They knew exactly what to do. They're cunning. They're cunning with how they get their victim in that position in the first place. And if they know what and what not Jehovah's Witnesses are looking for and what they take seriously and the circumstances of it, they will be able to perpetrate repeatedly over and over and over again. And that's why they move from congregation to congregation to congregation, because they get found out, and the elders feel they can't do anything other than keep an eye on them, and they can't like say anything to the new congregation. It's like, oh, you don't want to slander the brother's name. It's like, well, we'll just tell you, brothers, keep an eye on him. So that's why they had to come up with the idea for the list in the first place, because these guys would jump congregations so often. They knew how to get around it, like years ago. And, you know, how people can't see that that is a danger. Because it takes just once for one guy to get away with it, and it's like, oh wow. They were literally expecting that there had to be a bunch of eyewitnesses. And when there wasn't, that kid was sitting there and crying, and they still didn't believe him. They're like, well, there was no 2 witnesses, so you gotta forgive him. And so he literally had to forgive me for what I did. And he did. And even if they're disfellowshipped for 6 months, or even let's say they got disfellowshipped for a few years, so what? They just pick up right where they left off. You think that they can't just take a break or go somewhere else and do it? It's like, oh, well, you know, I'll just bide my time, because that's what predators do. They don't repeatedly do it just over and over and over again. Sometimes they like the challenge as well. It's like, oh, now I get to move to another congregation, and then I'll schmooze with the elders and make them all like me, and then I'll slowly find my next victim, you know, and it takes a while. They get off on the pursuit sometimes too. Like, it's a lot of times with the Jehovah's Witnesses, with those men, it's about the pursuit. Not even about the actual conquest, but the pursuit of it. Having them over for hospitality, and, you know, slowly like, oh, I'm going to work with them out in service. Or, oh, and now everybody's like, look, brother so-and-so took a special interest in little Timmy, you know? Isn't that sweet? The new brother, yeah, he's getting along so well with the young ones. He's so encouraging. You hear that over and over and over again, and they don't know that what has happened is a predator moved into the congregation. Anytime there's a brother that moves into the congregation and instantly has a special interest in all the kids, I mean, how stupid do you have to be? And that would happen repeatedly, over and over and over again. It's like, you know, boy, did we misjudge that brother. But, you know, there was no 2 witnesses, so what can you do? So he moved out of the congregation. Hopefully it was just a bad misunderstanding and it doesn't happen in the next one. That's the conversations that happen with elders and presiding overseers. It's like, well, you know, we can't out and out tell the other brothers. And so they would have code words that they would try and pass along because, you know, to get around it. And they would just use, like, the terminology, well, you know, we want to just let you know that new brother is kind of a nut. If you know what I'm saying, he's kind of a nut. Because of clergy penitent privilege, you can't say certain things. But if between all you elders, and don't tell me you guys are not aware of this, you know, the ones that used to be elders, or maybe you just didn't pay attention to what the other brothers were trying to say to you, you know, guaranteed that they were trying to let you know, like, hey, you know, that brother's kind of a nut, you may want to keep an eye on him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I heard my dad say that over and over and over again about countless individuals. And it's like, well, which ones are not a problem? Like, at some point, like, I asked my dad, I said, so which people can I talk to, Dad? Like, you know, because he'd be like warning me, well, you know, be careful of this one, be careful of that one, you know, because presiding overseers and elders, they always try and keep their own family safe first. First and foremost, their own family. Congregation comes second. Well, no, the congregation comes third. The organization comes first. Their own family comes second. Then the congregation comes third. And so If members of the congregation think that you're being protected, no. Because for one, when something would happen, my dad would say, well, that's their responsibility to keep their kids safe. That's why they say that during the assembly, too, that it's the parents' responsibility to keep the kids safe, because that is what the elders then say when people come forward and blame the elders and say, why didn't you keep the congregation safe? They're like, well, you're the parent and you need to keep your own kids safe. I'm supposed to keep your kids safe for you? It's like, well, when you have knowledge, yeah, it is your responsibility. If you have knowledge about something or someone and you don't tell them of that danger, it's like selling someone a car and you know that there's something majorly wrong with it that could, the brakes are super bad, or the brakes could go out at any moment, or that they have been going out and you're aware of it, and you don't tell them and you just sell them the car and then their brakes go out while they're on the freeway. Like, that would be your responsibility. That would be your problem. That would be your fault. If you had knowledge of danger and then those people go in and do whatever it is and they get hurt, that would be your fault. And I don't care about any type of rules, like clergy penitent rules. What's more important? Keeping the secrets of a criminal safe and secret, or to keep a child safe from that predator? Like, whose reputation is more important, or whose life and safety is more important? That of a known criminal or that of an innocent victim? And, with Watchtower, you need to see that what you're doing, you are causing them to be better criminals. They're better at getting caught. They become better at lying. They become better at everything when they're in the Jehovah's Witness organization. Because if they can get away with being interrogated by elders, they're better at then being interrogated by the police. Once you perfect the interrogations, the judicials are just like a police interrogation. And so all of these criminals are getting used to that, of getting questioned repeatedly and knowing just what to say and how to bring forth tears in the proper manner, and, all this different stuff of, I don't even know. It's just ridiculous. I just had to say that.